Welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast, where thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and executives from around the world share their practical tips, strategies, and stories to help you unleash your potential and achieve your goals. Your journey of growth to become your best starts now.
Hey, welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. Before we jump in, if you haven't already, wherever you're listening to this podcast or watching it, if you're watching it on YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us a like. We have no advertisement or sponsorship on this show. All we ask is that you subscribe to our content, you like it, and you share it with your friends and your family. We're all about building community and sharing our content here at Rise Up For You. All right, are you ready? Let's jump into today's episode with yet again another amazing guest. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. This is your host, Natalina Nasruddin. And again, very excited to jump into our new series, the Let's Coach series, where we're bringing master coaches from the Rise Up For You team on the podcast with me to talk about some of the major challenges that are happening amongst the community and clients. This is totally impromptu, just so you know. So if you're just tuning into this type of series, the questions that we're going to be answering from our community, we don't know what they are. So I'm super excited to bring on master coach here with Rise Up For You, Nagham Wehbe. Hi, Nagham. How are you today?
Good. Nice seeing you.
Nice to see you too. So if you've been tuning into the podcast and you've been listening every Friday or catching it at your convenience, then you should be familiar with our new series, Let's Coach, that we're launching every Friday. I'm bringing on the Rise Up For You team because we just have a ton of questions from the community. And I would love for you all to hear more than just my voice because we have an awesome team here. And so every Friday, we're going to be bringing on a new coach. Coaches will come on and repeat. And we're just going to answer questions that we have from clients, from community members, from people that are just following Rise Up For You. And we're going to answer them live. So we're going to try to get through as many as we can today. I'm excited to jump in. So Nagham, I always ask the question, are you ready to coach?
Yes, let's go.
Let's coach. Let's jump in. Okay, so let me see here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you see that I have my phone here. If you're listening in the car, I'm opening up our app and I'm just going to pick a question from a community member. And again, Nagham and I, we don't know what they are. We're going to be coaching live. All right, here we go. Ooh, this is an interesting one. I'm looking to advance or land into a new role where I can manage people. So a people manager role. Do you have any tips to do that? That's a great question. So looking to up level in their role to become a people manager, obviously that means to be able to manage people, to lead them, maybe potentially a director of people and culture. So any thoughts for those of you that are listening and watching as well, whether it's on our podcast or on the YouTube channel, I can almost guarantee that one, if not all questions today are probably going to resonate with you, whether it's now, in the future, maybe it was in the past. So we're going to try to coach as best as possible, and we'll start with that one.
I mean, the first thought that comes to mind is starting to build experience managing people, and you don't need to be people's manager to play a managerial role in that way, influence, inspire, coach people. So start having that experience, whether in your current job or extracurriculum activities outside if you're a job volunteer or non-volunteer, but extra. So then you can build that to be able to show that when you're interviewing for the next position that you have that skill, you have practiced it, and that's why you want it.
Yeah, you said something that's really important that I don't know if the audience caught, maybe you did catch it, but you said even external to your job, which I think is really, really important to just sit on that for a second, because in today's world, it is very possible, and I would say recommended, that you start to build your brand as a leader outside of your company as well. And part of that is, just like Nagham said, maybe sitting on a nonprofit board, being a part of a committee, finding opportunities to lead and support and manage people that aren't necessarily tied to the job, that are still going to give you experience, credibility, and also build relationships, right? Because things that happen external to your company, you can take anywhere you go, right? It's helping you build your leadership brand. So I would say that that's a great first step. The other thing that I would say is the flip side of that, gaining experience, leading, managing people, supporting people. But also, if you haven't already, it's really important to have the conversation with your leadership team, with the executive team, about where you want to go, right? A lot of times, team members or employees, they have these big visions for themselves within the company, but they never share it, right? And so they lose opportunity. And let's be honest, sometimes companies will have an amazing role that you're interested in, but then they outsource it. Right? They look external. But if you can communicate now, here's what I want and here's where I'm going. Now, if they potentially want to put a role up, they might not go external if they know that you have interest in it and that you've been showing, proof of performance that you can lead and manage a team. So make sure that you're communicating what you want to your leadership and executive team and asking them specifically. This is really important. Asking them specifically. I'd like to grow in my role and become a people manager and lead and coach and empower the team. What action steps do you think I need to take in order to get there? And wait for them to respond. Nagham, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, the asking specifically is a great point on many, I think on many different directions. One, with whoever, the supervisor or the leadership team, to know what's next and what's the gap, but also asking for specific feedback. Yeah. So what is with people you're supervising, with the colleagues that you're working with? So it can be equal positions, or people you're supervising, or people that are in another position or heading another department. Just getting feedback, like what do you think is the gap? Where do you think I'm at with this situation? Just getting specific feedback so you're able to also close the gap while you're doing the specific steps to get where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great feedback. I think that's great coaching from you, Nagham. So if you're listening, hopefully that helped Toya and anybody else that, is wanting to move up in their role and wants to become a manager of people or lead a team, which is really, sorry, I'm going to say one more thing, which is it's a need. And what I'm seeing in the question, which excites me, is that it seems through your question that you're excited to lead people and empower them. And I think we all have been in a company or under a leadership position where the leader didn't really want to lead or manage or grow their team. They got there because they had proven track record in the technical skill. Maybe they dominated in sales, right? And so then they were put in charge of leading a sales team, for example. Maybe they were really successful in, project management and technology, and now they're, put in charge of this team. And there are people out there that are in leadership roles that really don't care so much about managing and leading and empowering people. So I think that if this is something that you want to do, really honing in on that coaching, the mentoring, the uplifting skills is going to be critical and also very much needed. Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's do it. Let's go to the next question here. Let's see what we got going on. Okay, so pulling up the app here. Okay, Marissa asked, this is a little bit vague, but we're gonna try. When do I know when it's time to make a change? Not a ton of context, but I think we could still coach through it. When do I know when it's time to make a change? Yeah. While you're thinking, Nagham, most of us know that 78% of the workforce is disengaged at work. We know that from Gallup. The Gallup statistic hasn't changed. So every year they're doing research and it's the same, right? 78%. So it's pretty clear across the board. And I also want you to know, if you don't know, that Rise Up For You is working with companies and leaders around the world, not just in North America, if you're listening here in the US or in Canada. And the statistic is the same globally as well. So for example, I was just in Dubai doing work, same percentage. It was about 77%, same thing, right? So it's not a North American problem. It's a global problem that people are not, they're not engaged or feeling fulfilled or happy with what they're doing. And so the question, how do I know when it's time to change?
I think there are different ways to know. One is, you feel off, you feel very unhappy, it's not healthy for you, regardless if things are going to change or the situation is going to change. It's just not a good fit. It's not working. You feel it in your guts and your instincts. But sometimes you get to that position quickly. But before we get to that, I think for me, sometimes it's about assessing the situation.
Yeah.
What is working? What's not working? Is what's not working or what I don't like greater than what I like, and what I'm feeling fulfilled with?
Yeah.
If that's bigger, is there any way I can influence change? Is there any way I can shift what's making me not happy? Is there any way I can use my agency, my voice, my position, to make a difference here, to make the things that make me fulfilled more? And trying and reinventing, for me at least. Now, to each there are some people don't want to try, and that's fine. But if for me it's like about trying, I reinvent myself, try a different way. Okay, this didn't work, let me try a different way. And really, when I feel like I've reinvented out, like I've reinvented a lot of times and it's not getting anywhere, that's when it's okay, we get to accept that situation. I accept the situation and start looking for another way. Because there is also disadvantage of just staying when you feel you can't make change. There's nothing in your control, and just staying because it's comfortable or it's what you know, rather than jumping to the unknown. Absolutely. So it's a balance of both, I think.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think that's great. One thing, and if you're listening, Marissa, maybe you can send us another question next week or the week after. One thing I would be curious to know is if you have examined, and again, this is for anybody listening, because I'm sure there's many of us that might be going through this right now. Maybe you feel stuck, feeling like you're not getting a lot of traction, whether you're an entrepreneur or, in the corporate workplace. What I would be curious to know is if you've done an assessment of your whole life to figure out and pinpoint where exactly you think you need the change. And the reason why I say that is because, and I know, Nagham, you know this because this is part of our curriculum, I always say the person is the professional and the professional is the person. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, for example, it's not our career that's the challenge. There's other things externally that are happening. Maybe it's your marriage, maybe it's your love life, maybe it's your health, maybe it's you don't feel enough and you're struggling with confidence, maybe you're struggling with money, whatever it is, but you're not able to identify that. And so you think it's related to your career, right? Like, I need to get out of my career. I feel stuck. I feel unhappy. And so I'm going to default to one of our main blueprints or curriculums here at Rise Up For You, which is the 6 pillars to success. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to ask you to do the 6 pillars and rate yourself 1 through 10 in each pillar, so you can truly identify which pillar is the one that you're feeling stuck and unfulfilled and maybe not like fully gratified in. Okay. So I'm just going to break it down really fast. Self-worth is number 1, 1 through 10, 10 being amazing, 1 being danger zone, non-existent. So self-worth is your self-confidence, your self-efficacy, how you feel about yourself, the thoughts that are in your mind. 10 being amazing, I'm my number 1 cheerleader, 1 being danger zone. Number 2 is your career. Do you feel fulfilled? Are you happy? Do you feel like you're adding value in the company? Have you outgrown the company? Or do you feel like, just like Nagham said, there's more opportunities that maybe you just haven't identified or tapped into yet? Are you struggling in your job and you've done everything you can to help influence or minimize the challenges and it hasn't worked? Or do you still have some opportunity there to create influence, right? 1 through 10. Then we have romance. And a lot of times people, especially executives, ask, why are we talking about romance, right? But romance, it influences your behaviors. It influences your energy. It influences your happiness. So 1 through 10 is your romantic relationships. Are they thriving? Are you in a happy marriage? Are you dating and you're happy? If you're single and you're living your best life, give yourself a 10, okay? So you get to decide, 1 through 10. Number 4 is your health. It's mind, body, and soul. Do you feel healthy? Do you feel stressed all the time? Are you able to manage your emotions? 1 through 10, 10 being amazing, 1 danger zone. Then the last 2 also very important. Number 5 is relationship management. So not romantically, we're talking about your community of people around you. Do you have a lot of drama in the workplace? Do you have a lot of drama in your personal life? Or do you have a community of people that are kind, that are loving, that are in some ways more successful than you, that you can learn from and thrive in, right? 1 through 10. And last is money. Are you stressed about money when you go to bed? Are you constantly worried about how you're going to pay your bills? Have you prepped for your future financially? 1 through 10. So I think that, again, the question is a little bit vague, but it's a great question. And I think that a lot of people do struggle with clarity and understanding what their next steps are and when should I make a change. I really encourage going through those 6 pillars so that you can identify, where in my life do I feel stagnant? Do I feel stuck? Do I feel like I'm not gaining traction? And then start with those 1 or 2 pillars first. And if it happens to be your career, great. But we want to identify why specifically you feel stuck. Because here's the thing, and Nagham, jump in anytime. These things are just coming to my mind. If you don't reflect and really go through your life, my fear for you, which we see the majority of the time, is that you're going to jump to something else and the same feeling is going to occur. Because I always say that when you don't provide clarity for yourself and when you don't gain clarity, you're going to live a life of chasing, but never enough. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I don't want you to start making decisions and start jumping and doing all of these things without really sitting down and reflecting, like, what do I want? Why do I want it? What am I feeling in these 6 pillars? And now let's create an action step after that reflection.
Yeah, this is a very important point. Pausing. I think it's just for everybody, not for leadership teams, for people, for just pausing. I think we're really quick to want to make the next move, the next step, but just pausing, not for long, but just for a short time to reflect. And the other point that I wanted to add is being able to communicate the challenge, that whatever it is that you feel stuck with, because a lot of times it's in our head and internally. And that's what the advantage of having a coach, hiring a coach, where you can articulate, because first articulating it is going to make it clear, because to be able to articulate it, you have to organize your thoughts and experiences and memories. And then a coach or somebody, maybe even your mentor at work or somebody that's able to receive that communication and ask questions. Give me an example of that. What do you think is that? Is that a fact or an interpretation sometimes? So that person will put light also on your blind spots. And why I say that being able to communicate and have clarity and articulate the challenge, because sometimes there is some responsibility on us as well. There's many times where I have people or coachees that are like, oh, I'm stuck at this situation. It's them, they, the leaders, especially with career-wise or relationship, even though most of my coaching is more career-wise, but also being able to see, how am I playing into that? What is my role in this situation in a way? It's just to be curious about it. Maybe there's no role, but it's just to pause and ask all those questions and reflect on all the pillars and really looking at everything from all angles, having somebody that will point out your blind spots or your limiting beliefs that may be getting in the way, and then making a decision based on that. In businesses and everything, people do a lot of data analysis before they make a decision, but for some reason, when it comes to our individual life, we're just like, okay, I need to make a decision. But that's the reflection and pausing. It's like really collecting the data to make an informed decision that will be long-term and not just a short-term jump.
Yeah, I love that. Was gold right there that you said. Collect the data, because you're so right. In businesses and corporations and organizations, they have all of these systems to make sure that they scale, that they don't stay stuck, that they're building a thriving business. There's time maximization, all of these strategies and systems. And most individuals forget that we actually need the same system in our life so that we can keep growing and keep scaling as a person. So that right there was money, what you just said. Nagham, thanks again for joining us as a master coach here with Rise Up For You. Your insights are always super valuable. I'm excited to have you on again. We will have Nagham on again. So thanks for joining us, Nagham, before I wrap up here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. And thank you for the questions. This is so much fun.
It is, right? I know. I'm really excited that we started this new series. So again, for those of you that are new to the community, The Rise Up For You podcast, believe it or not, is the longest running thing the company has. This is the very first thing I started when building the business was the Rise Up For You podcast. October 5th, 2016. I can tell you the exact date. And just recently, we launched the Let's Coach series, which every Friday, we are bringing the Rise Up For You team on to answer these really important questions from the community, from clients, from potential clients, people that are just following us on, social media and Rise Up For You. Every Monday, we release podcast episodes with myself and amazing thought leaders from around the world, executives, entrepreneurs, leaders that are out there making an impact and a change. But I actually really love having the team come on because I think it's so important for the audience to hear, our coaches and our trainers and the valuable insights that you're providing to clients every single day. So again, thanks for joining the Rise Up For You podcast. We're bringing you episodes every single week to help you grow as an individual, to help you grow your team, whether you're an individual or you're a corporation looking to lead, support your team's performance, motivation, empowerment. We are here to serve you. Don't forget to check us out at riseupforyou.com. We have a ton of free resources. If you haven't already, click subscribe for YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks for joining us again, Nagham. Thank you so much.
Of course. Have a good one.
Yeah.